Welcome to the Thinking Green News Moment. I'm Chris Schneider. Today my guest is Tom Stolp with the Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. Tell us a little bit about the Conservation Voter League.
Sure. Well, Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters was formed in 2002, really in a response to the fact that for quite a while things hadn't been going very well for Wisconsin's conservation movement. And at that time, in 2002, a lot of different conservation groups came together and helped form the Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters as a group of folks that would support particular conservation issues. And we've been doing that ever since, and we've had great success. To tell you a little bit about the process, every year in an election year, Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters holds regional listening sessions. And we take ideas to those listening sessions that have been vetted by different conservation groups as some of the top, most important conservation issues in the state. And then we take these out to 11 regional listening sessions. We held them both in Eau Claire and La Crosse this last fall. And they were really an excellent opportunity to talk to folks about conservation issues that they cared about. Folks were allowed to vote on these issues, and then we brought them back to the heads of conservation groups, and these actually became our 4 conservation priorities. And we worked for the next 2 years in a legislative session to make sure that we have success on those legislative priorities. And this year's conservation priorities are restoring conservation integrity with an independent DNR secretary, protecting Wisconsin's drinking water, stopping global warming in Wisconsin through a strong clean energy economy bill, and preserving Wisconsin's groundwater. So really some great issues, and no matter what your conservation interest is, they're bound to be impacted by these priority areas.
Certainly sounds like that's the truth. So really, when it comes to the conservation voter, this isn't an issue of being Democratic or Republican.
Certainly not.
Mm-hmm.
These issues are so big, and they really need to involve both parties and people who aren't interested in the political process necessarily at all. Mm-hmm. We always say that we want conservation to be beyond politics. Unfortunately, to work towards the betterment of conservation, we do need to get political. But for us, the issue is never partisan. It's never Democrat, Republican. We always put conservation and Wisconsin's natural resources at the forefront of our ideals. And
you are the organizer for the Western District in Wisconsin.
That's correct.
Uh-huh.
I work out of our Eau Claire office, but I'm coming down to La Crosse, and I go over to Wausau very frequently. So I cover quite a large area, but there's so many great conservation groups in all these regions that it really makes my job quite a breeze to just be able to work with conservation groups that do a lot of the community-wide legwork and are able to really provide our organization with a lot of great ideas in terms of what's important in conservation.
Do you see that there's a difference in some of the priorities for Western Wisconsin conservation voters versus the east side of Wisconsin?
Well, I think maybe we're probably both partial to this side of the state, having lived here our lives, but I think we face unique challenges because we have such great natural resources in this region. We face unique challenges because some of those natural resources are in fact at risk. This region in particular, I think folks are interested in seeing a lot of improvement to our groundwater regulation. Mm-hmm. I know particularly in the southwestern area of the viewership, a lot of folks are concerned with what's happening with the land application of waste in some of the larger agricultural operations, industrial agriculture that's going on down there. So I think that's a particular interest to people in southwestern Wisconsin. But even with an issue like in the last session, we worked hard to promote a strong Great Lakes Compact. Mm-hmm. And when you think about the Great Lakes, they only cover a very small, regionally, a small portion of the state, about a third of the state. And places like Eau Claire and La Crosse are very far from the Great Lakes. But people throughout Wisconsin have such a pride in our natural resources, understand it's such a key component of what makes our state a great place to live, that they really understand that we need to work together to protect them.
Thank you, Tom. How can people get more information on the internet?
Sure. They can visit our website, which is www.conservationvoters.org, or they can give me a call. My phone number is 715-835-4248, or they can always email me, tom@conservationvoters.org.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Chris.
This is Chris Schneider with the Thinking Green News Moment.